is artificial intelligence and the Orwellian world. In the Dear Semi Drivecast. So, as a lot of people will have seen, Western Australia has introduced AI officially. They've come out and said it officially. Although they would have been using it through their police and CCTV for many years, such as they have in Victoria. So my point is, there's no way in hell you would be the biggest fool on this planet if you thought for a second that AI facial recognition technology was being used in places like Crown Casino and was only just being introduced now into the WA police surveillance. But somehow it's not being used in Victoria. And the reason I'm speaking about it is because A, I'm aware of it. In that one I just did one of those. Here, have it again. It says in there, you know, Crown Casino has been using facial recognition for brawlers and petty criminals to keep them out of, sadly due to, if you don't know, sadly due to my heroin addiction. My heroin addiction came with a vengeance and led to homelessness, incarceration, and 10 years of just in the wilderness. But what else happened? I was asked to testify. Sorry to repeat myself to all you guys who have heard me before, but I was asked to testify against a prison officer during that period, which made me a dog. Basically, I saw how corrupt things were in Victoria, in corrupt Victoria, and I wasn't bowing down to it, in effect. So what they did, ladies and gentlemen, they weaponized the very systems they're now just legally rolling out in Western Australia against me. Fact, there's no ifs, buts or maybes. They misused, for years, they were using facial recognition tech, they were using it combined with voice synthesizer tech, combined with chatbot technology, and they weaponized it against me, which is the whole point of today's little mini drivecast. Is, yeah, okay, great, we're going to wheel these new technology. There's two things that grinds my gears. Kimmy, look at me, Kimmy. There's two things, main things that grinds my gears there. There's one, what I just mentioned, the fact that the sad truth of the matter is, and you can look at Lawyer X, you can Google the Constable Simon Illingworth story, you can look at all manner of things in corrupt Victoria. You can have a look at the CFMEU to see that our systems can't really be trusted. And what I mean by that is, when I became a dog, eloquently I was a whistleblower, they weaponized it against me. Granted, 100%, I was an addict, I was a petty criminal, but it was weaponized against me because I was a dog. So they weren't using it on, I would literally be hanging around when I was in the throes trying to get myself out of the mess I'd fallen into. I'd be hanging around with gun-toting bikies and drug dealers with bags, bum bags full of gear and moving. They weren't weaponizing it against them, but they were me, the Mars bar thief. You know, hello. So there's that aspect. Then there's the aspect that it's entirely invasive. But I even had them, I kid you not, I've said this before, I had them combining that same type of technology with surveillance equipment. So what breached my premises, and they did things like install hidden cameras. So what happened was I had my father sadly passed away, and the car, my dad's car, was being backloaded and sent over from WA over here, and in it we threw the television, Dad's TV. No problem, I have that. Well, they intercepted that, and they installed a hidden camera in it, hidden surveillance equipment in it, and they were using the same AI facial recognition bot technology through the surveillance equipment they installed, which in a TV, which mind you ended up in my bedroom. How do I know this? I'll just tell you. You can, I was sitting in there, among other little ways that I would test their corruption out. Among other ways, I was sitting back and I was watching, I think it's The Eagle Has Landed, and Donald Sutherland, he's looking up and he's watching 6 parachuters parachute out. I was in the privacy of my own bedroom. It's entirely illegal for anybody to be setting up surveillance equipment in bedrooms, even with a warrant. Even if the person's an active Mars bar thief. And I said something like, when Donald Sutherland looked up and saw the paratroopers paratrooping, and he says something cool one-liner. He goes, well, I'll be damned. Look at me, if you wouldn't believe, flying pigs. And he's talking about the stormtroopers parachuting in. And I said to myself, speaking volume, I said, that's what we used to call the police air wing, sarcastically, knowing that I was being listened to though. The very next day, the police air wing were buzzing my house, as if to say, yeah, we've got eyes on you, like a muscle, and all because I was a dog in Victoria. Now, Google the Constable Simon Illingworth story, and then you'll see the type of treatment. I fortunately, I didn't have a wife, so I didn't have police issue bullets with my wife's name engraved on them, placed in my letterbox. But it was still the same level, which boggles my brain, to be honest, how they would spend that many resources on, literally, wouldn't it just be easier to not be corrupt? Wouldn't that be the right answer? Like, okay, let's not be corrupt, not let's get these whistleblowers and squander. Anyhow, so there's that aspect with AI and surveillance equipment and invasive. Then there is also this this other bit. Well, there's actually probably 3, but then there's also the years, how we got there. This grinds my gears, because how we got there is through years of incompetence. So today, this morning, we've had on the wonderful 3AW Mark Allen and Jimmy Bartell speaking about, much to the annoyance of Beryl from Cranbourne, we've had them speaking about the influx in cocaine. Cocaine is awash, so much so it's gone from 380,000 a kilo down to 100,000 a kilo. Blah, blah, blah. Now, about 10 years ago, we had assurances that we need a very invasive introduction of laws. We need anti-fortification laws, ladies and gentlemen, and if you're not doing anything wrong, you've got nothing to worry about, okay? If you were not doing anything wrong, you've got nothing to worry about, okay? We need to introduce these laws, which in effect tells you how you can build your house and whether you're allowed to put good security in there. Because I'll tell you why, because their excuse was they needed to be able to get into the bikies' clubhouses, those feared bikies, to reduce drugs, to prevent organised crime from flourishing in Victoria, to reduce drugs. Now here we have just one drug, cocaine, through the roof. Now please don't misread this as me trying to excuse crime or me trying to excuse or trying to have a go at police. No. I am genuinely saying what is needed for a better society. That is the whole point of what I'm getting at. It's not working now, is it? So just going through mismanagement, dumb decisions made out of ego because, we're going to win this. No, Plugger, we're going to get there, mate. All right, give me a hoo-ah. We're going to do it, all right, Plugger McGee. Hey, Plugger from the Piranha, we'll get these bastards. Kind of, sort of, probably not really, but, hey, well, I'd rather be rubbing shoulders with gangsters than bloody pedophiles, So, there's that nonsense attitude, years of just ridiculous nonsense of taking advice from ill advice, unfortunately. Advice that comes more from, I don't know where it comes from. Bloody scumbag. It must come from ego. It cannot come from logic and reason, is my point. So we have years of this, and if you're not doing anything wrong, ladies and gentlemen, you got nothing to worry about, all right? If you are going to have a problem with us installing AI with cameras in it, in a non-invasive smoke detector in your lounge room, well, you clearly have got something to hide, haven't you? What are you doing? I mean, what are you, if you're not doing anything wrong in your lounge room, you have nothing to worry about. And I lived that because they installed surveillance equipment, often under the guise of without warrants, with warrants. It didn't bother them because I was a dark. So I dared challenge the corruption. So I've lived it. I've lived it where they've literally had Orwellian existence. Hidden surveillance equipment in my house when I was nothing. I was never any more than just at my worst, when I was heroin addicted, struggling for dollar to feed my habit, I was no more than a petty criminal at best, at worst. I was horrible at it. I was a hard-working person. I paid for my substances, which is what made me so horrible at being a criminal, because I worked my whole life, blah, blah, blah. But I got to see it. I got to see how it all works and how corrupted it really is. And for them to then be so horrible at their job, in effect, and then to sort of see no alternative but to include this in your world, don't fall for it. Do not fall for it. I'll tell you another quick trick, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry to sound flustered, but I am a little bit flustered on this one because we're losing the beauty. We're losing this rapidly through mismanagement and often outright corruption. And quite frankly, from my perspective, that grinds my gears. Seeing how it all works, that does my head in. We're losing these freedoms, this beautiful nation that we had, through mismanagement, vote grabs, and outright corruption. And it's not, if you're not doing anything wrong, you've got nothing to worry about. It is not that. It's, I want to live in a free country and I expect more from our departments. That's the truth of the matter. It's not, if you're not doing anything wrong, you got nothing to worry about. No, it is, I want to live in a free country and I expect more out of my police, prisons, courts, especially courts, and government departments. That is what it is. Speak soon.